heart. In human beings, the transport of substances such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, digested food, excretory products, etc. is carried out by specialized long-distance transport systems constituting the circulatory system of our body. Blood is an important component of circulatory system that carries the required substances to various organs of the body. The circulation of blood and its transportation to every organ of the body is ensured by the blood circulatory system, which constitutes of the heart and blood vessels. Let us try to understand the unique and intricate structure of the heart in this module. The human heart is a hollow, conical-shaped muscular organ roughly of the size of our clenched fist. It is reddish-brown in color and weighs approximately 300 grams in males and 250 grams in females. The heart is situated between the two lungs in the middle of the thoracic cavity and is surrounded by a protective two-layered sac known as the pericardium. The pericardial fluid secreted in the cavity between the pericardium and the heart reduces friction between the cardiac walls and the surrounding tissues. The heart is a double pump which is divided by a septa into two halves, the right half and the left half. Each of these halves consists of two communicating chambers, the upper smaller auricle or atrium and the lower larger ventricle. So in all, the heart has four chambers, namely the two upper auricles called the left and the right auricles and the two lower ventricles called the left and the right ventricles. There are two valves between the right auricle and the right ventricle. These valves provide one-way passage for the unidirectional flow of blood from auricle to the ventricle. The walls of the heart are composed of special muscles called the cardiac muscle fibers. Many blood vessels originate from the heart, the important ones being the aorta, pulmonary artery, the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Let us now understand how the heart functions to purify the blood. The oxygen-rich blood from the lungs comes to the thin-walled upper chamber of the heart, the left auricle. It should be well remembered that the auricle is in a relaxed state while collecting the blood. Afterwards, it contracts and the left ventricle expands so that the blood is transferred to it. Eventually, when the muscular left ventricle contracts, the blood is pumped out to the body. The deoxygenated blood from the body comes to the upper chamber on the right auricle when it expands. As the right auricle contracts, the corresponding lower chamber, that is the right ventricle, dilates, leading to the transfer of blood to it. This in turn pumps the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Since the ventricles have to pump blood into the various organs, they possess thicker muscular walls as compared to the auricles. The walls ensure unidirectional flow of blood even on the contraction of the auricles and the ventricles. Quotation: Lymphatic system. In the human body, the circulatory system is composed of two important fluids that are involved in transportation. These are blood and the lymph. We are already aware of the role of blood in our body. Let us now learn about lymph, which is also known as the tissue fluid. Let us understand the role of lymph in our body. Like blood, the lymph is also involved in transportation. Lymph is a light yellow colored fluid connective tissue. The lymph or tissue fluid is formed by the escape of some amount of plasma, proteins and blood cells through the pores in the walls of capillaries into the intercellular spaces in the tissues. The lymph is also called extracellular fluid because it is present in the intercellular spaces in the tissues outside the cells. Though it is similar to the plasma of blood, it is colorless and contains lesser proteins. The lymph capillaries, lymph vessels and the lymph nodes together make up the lymphatic system. From the intercellular spaces, lymph drains into the lymphatic capillaries, which join to form larger lymph vessels that finally open into the larger veins. The flow is unidirectional, that is, from tissues to heart, since the backflow is prevented by valves present in the lymph vessels. There are various important functions of lymphatic system. Let us discuss some important ones. Lymph absorbs some of the fluids from the digestive tract and transports proteins to the tissues. It also carries the digested fats. It drains the excess fluid from extracellular spaces back into the blood. It carries carbon dioxide and other nitrogenous wastes from the tissues to the blood. Another important function of lymph is that it provides immunity to the body. Transportation in plants. Energy needs to differ between different body designs. Plants do not move, and the plant's bodies have a large proportion of dead cells in many tissues. As a result, plants have low energy needs and can use relatively slow transport system. The distance over which transport systems have to operate, however, can be very large in plants such as very tall trees. For plants, the soil is the nearest and richest source of raw materials like nitrogen, phosphorus, and other minerals. The absorption of these substances, therefore, occurs through the parts in contact with the soil, namely roots. If the distance between soil contacting organs and chlorophyll containing organs are small, energy and raw materials can easily diffuse to all parts of the plant's body. But if these distances become large, diffusion process will not be sufficient to provide raw materials in leaves and energy in roots. Hence, a proper system of transportation is essential in such a situation. Plant transport system will move energy stores from leaves and raw materials from roots. For this, two pathways are constructed as independently organized conducting tubes. The xylem moves water and minerals obtained from the soil to all the other parts of the plant. The phloem transports products of photosynthesis from the leaves, where they are synthesized to other parts of the plants. So there are two kinds of transportation in plants. 1. Transportation of water and minerals. 2. Transportation of food and other substances. Transportation of water and minerals. The transportation of water and minerals involves three distinct and interconnected processes. 1. Absorption of water and minerals. 2. Ascent of sap or upward movement of water and minerals. 3. Transpiration, that is, loss of water in the form of vapor. In xylem tissue, vessels and tracheids of the roots, stems and leaves are interconnected to form a continuous system of water-conducting channels reaching all parts of the plant. At the roots, cells in contact with the soil actively take up ions. This creates a difference in the concentration of these ions between the root and the soil. Water therefore moves into the root from the soil to eliminate this difference. This shows that there is steady movement of water into root xylem creating a column of water that is steadily pushed upwards. But this root pressure by itself is not enough to move water over the height that we commonly see in plants. Here, transpiration helps. The loss of water in the form of vapors from the living tissues of aerial plants of the parts is known as transpiration. This evaporation of water molecules from the cells of leaves creates a suction which pulls water from the xylem cells of the roots. This is known as transpiration pull. So the water which is lost through the stomata is replaced by water from the xylem vessels in the leaf. Thus, transpiration helps in the absorption and the upward movement of water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. And also helps in temperature regulation. In fact, the effect of root pressure in transport of water is more important at night. During the day, when the stomata are open, the transpiration pull becomes the major driving force in the movement of water in the xylem. Formation of food and other substances. In plants, synthesis of carbohydrates, amino acids, hormones and other metalloids occurs in the leaves. The transport of soluble products of photosynthesis to the other parts of the plants is called translocation. The translocation occurs in the parts of the vascular tissue known as phloem. The translocation of food and other substances takes part in the sieve tubes with the help of adjacent companion cells both in upward and downward directions. The translocation in phloem is achieved by utilizing energy. Material like sucrose is transferred into phloem tissue using energy from ATP. This increases the osmotic pressure of the tissues, which causes water to move into it. This pressure moves the material in the phloem to tissues which have less pressure. This allows the phloem to move materials according to the plant's needs. For example, in the spring, sugar stored in the root or stem tissue would be transported to the buds, which need energy to grow.